Hello, hello, and welcome back to the Casual Leader Podcast, your weekly dose of real talk for people building real businesses and trying not to lose their sanity along the way. I'm your host, and today is the perfect day to have a conversation about goals. It's the end of Q1, March is wrapping up, so those goals that you set in January, those resolutions, the vision board, that Google Doc titled 2026 is my year, where is it? Seriously, where is it? Can you find it right now? If you just felt a little pit in your stomach, you're not alone. According to Forbes Health Survey, the average New Year's resolution lasts about 3.74 months, and nearly 80% are abandoned by February. There's literally a day called Quitter's Day, and it's the second Friday in January because that's statistically when most people kind of give up. And it gets worse. Only about 9% of people who set goals or New Year's resolutions actually feel that they successfully achieve them by the end of the year. 9%. That's single digits. So, all the research and all the data shows that this isn't really a willpower problem. This is actually a bigger problem. It's a system, framework, tool, whatever you want to call it, type of problem. We're not failing at our goals because we're lazy or undisciplined. We're actually failing because the tools that we've been given to set those goals were never really designed for real life. So, today we're going to talk about why the most popular goal setting frameworks, the ones that get taught in every corporate training, every self help book, every January Instagram post, or TikTok video, are fundamentally broken for the way most of us actually live and work. And then I'm going to actually show you, what to use instead. It's a framework that was built inside Intel in the 1970s. I know, a little bit old, but it actually scaled Google from 30 employees to one of the most valuable companies on the planet. And now is being used by everyone, from Netflix, LinkedIn, Spotify to Amazon. But the best part? The best part is that you can use it for your personal life too, for your side projects, for your career, for your health, for all of it. So let's get into it. Okay, before we fix anything, we need to be honest about where we are right now. And I think this part is the one that most people skip, which is exactly why we keep having the same goals showing up year after year. Look, Q1 is ending. That means that you had roughly 12 weeks to make progress on whatever you said that it mattered to you back in January. 12 weeks is not nothing. It's enough time to build a real habit. It's enough time to see meaningful change. And it's also enough time to know whether something is working or not. So here's what I would really like for you to do: pull up whatever you wrote down in January, your resolutions, your goals, your intention, whatever that might have been, and ask yourself three questions. First, can I even find them? If you can't locate your goals, they were never really operational or a priority. They were kind of wishes, and there's a big difference. A goal lives somewhere where you can see it regularly. A wish lives in your notes app next to the grocery list from 6 months ago. Trust me, a lot of us have been there. Second question: for the ones that you can't really find them, what actually happened? Did you just lose them along the way? Or maybe you found them, but you didn't really do anything against them? Did you take any action at all? Did anything change? Because things change. Be very, very specific. I want to get healthier means nothing. But I went to the gym 14 times in January, 8 times in February, and twice in March. That's a different story. Third question: for the goals that kind of stalled, ask why. Be honest. Was it the wrong goal? Was it the timing that was a little bit off? Did life kind of get in the way? Or did you just lose the thread because nothing was really holding you accountable to achieve that goal? Look, there's no guilt here. This is just data collection. There's no self punishment, there's no judgment. Because the reason why most people don't do this in Q1 as a Q1 review is because they already internally kind of mentally categorize that as failed goals, and they don't really want to see them as personal failures. And that's not what's happening right now. When you review your goals at the end of the quarter, it's more of data collection and gathering to see what's actually happening. And The reality is that a lot of us are using a tool that was just not meant for support for us to achieve our goals. So let's talk about the most popular framework, the one that everyone talks about every single time that goals come into conversation. I'm sure you heard about it. The SMART framework goal. So, if you've been in any corporate training, any coaching program, any personal development course, you heard this before. Specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, time bound. It was created in 1981 by a management consultant called George Doran, published in the Management Review magazine. And for over 40 years, it's been treated like the gospel. And there are also variations. Have you noticed this? We have Smarter, which adds evaluated and reviewed. We have Smart Test, which tracks on self aware and transparency. We have STAR goals. We have PACT goals. And the list goes on. Every few years, someone adds or removes another letter or two, and he calls it innovation, the latest in setting goals. But the research on SMART goals is way more nuanced than any LinkedIn post would have you believe. In many situations, SMART goals can actually make things a little bit worse. And there are a few core problems that we're gonna be touching on. The first issue with the SMART goals is that it creates a binary pass or fail system. You either hit the goal or you miss the mark. There's very little room for recognizing progress. If your goal was to lose, let's say, 25 pounds and you lost 22, the SMART goal setting says that you failed. Your body, your health might say something else though. This is an all or nothing framework, and it's kind of a motivation killer, especially for the goals that require sustained effort over a period of time. Second problem is that the achievable and realistic criteria from the SMART goal sounds very reasonable on the surface. You don't set goals that you can't reach, right? But the research from Leadership IQ, who surveyed nearly 4,000 employees, found that people who set goals that they describe as hard were significantly more engaged than those who set goals that described as easy, achievable, or moderate. The keep it realistic advice actually encourages people to aim really low. And when you aim low, you kind of get a little bit low as well. You also get bored and lose interest. The third issue is that SMART goals don't really distinguish between what you're doing and how you're actually doing it. They don't separate the activity from the outcome. For example, write 24 blog posts this year. It's a perfect SMART goal. It's specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time bound. But what if you write all 24 blog posts and your website traffic still doesn't move? You completed the goal, right? But did you actually succeed in what you're trying to do with it? SMART goals can't really answer that question because it never asked what success looked like in the first place. Number four, SMART goals are really rigid. Have you noticed that? They assume a very stable environment. They assume that you know exactly what the right target is when you set the goal and that nothing significant will change between now and the deadline. That might work in the manufacturing process, but it doesn't really work if you're a founder navigating a shifting market, a parent whose childcare situation just changed, or anyone trying to live in a world that just refuses to sit still, like the rest of us. And finally, SMART goals are really lonely. There's no built in mechanism for collaboration, alignment, or any shared accountability. They're designed for individual targets, which means when you're struggling, like most of us, the framework gives you nothing to lean on except your own willpower. And look, we all have those days. We already know how those go. MIT Sloan Management Review published a piece called When Smart Goals Aren't So Smart. And the core argument is exactly this. In stable, predictable environments with well defined targets, smart goals work just fine. But in a dynamic, uncertain, creative, or a bit chaotic, filled with personal growth context, which is basically pretty much all of us, they fall short. So if smart goals aren't the answer, then what is? Enter OKRs, objectives and key results. Look, I know that Some of you most likely are using it at work and you're not a big fan of it. And I will be honest, I noticed that the companies that don't set the OKRs properly from leadership down or from bottom up, they really fail. And look, the way you set OKRs for companies is very different than what we're going to be talking about today, but don't disregard them just yet. Stay with me. Let's go a little bit back in time with the origin story. The origin story of this best goal setting framework, I would say, actually matters. So in 1970s, Andy Grove was running Intel. And he's seen firsthand how traditional management approaches, the ones that valued expertise without execution, led to mediocre outcomes. So he built something new. He took Peter Drucker's management by objectives concept from 1950s and upgraded it with a critical addition: key results. The idea was super simple. Instead of just setting an objective and hoping that people were figuring it out, you pair every objective with measurable key results that tell you whether you're actually making progress against your objective or not. So Grove asked two questions: where do I want to go, which is basically your objective, and how will I know that I'm getting there? And those are your key results. Look, amongst his team at Intel was a salesperson named John Doerr. And Doerr learned the system, kept his OKRs pinned to his office wall, and wrote new ones every quarter. Years later, 1999, Doerr actually walked in a room at Google with about 30 employees, gathered them around the ping pong table, and introduced them to the OKRs. Larry Page and Sergey Brin adopted this framework across the entire company, and the rest is literally tech history. Today, OKRs are used by Google, Netflix, Spotify, LinkedIn, Airbnb, Amazon, Deloitte, and many others, thousands of organizations in every industry. But the part that really gets overlooked is that OKRs work just as well for your personal life as they do for a Fortune 500 company. So, how do they actually work? Maybe you're wondering. And why are they different from everything else that we tried before? Well, an OKR has two main components. The objective, like we mentioned, is your destination. It's inspiring. It should make you feel something when you read it. It should describe what success might look like. It answers the question, what do I want to achieve? An objective is not a number, it's not a metric, but it's a statement of intent that gives you the direction. The second part of the second component is the key results. Those are how you measure whether you're getting there to your destination. Think of them as milestones. Each objective has 2 to 5 maximum key results. They're very specific, they're measurable, and they do have a deadline. Key results answer the question of, how will I know if I'm actually making progress towards my objective? What do I have to do to achieve my objective? So here's where things get different from the SMART goals. With SMART, you have one goal and one measure of success, and you either hit it or you didn't. With OKRs, you have one objective measured by multiple key results. That means that success is not binary. You might nail 3 out of 4 or 5 key results and still have made incredible progress. The system is designed to capture partial wins, which in real life is how progress is actually made. So let me make this a little bit more concrete with examples. Okay, so I put together a template, which is absolutely free to use, by the way, and I will link it in the description below, for your personal OKRs. So here's how it's structured. You have objectives in one column, and you can add, I wouldn't suggest more than 3 to 5, to be honest with you. You have status for each of them, and under the status, you're going to have in progress, at risk, off track, done, not for me anymore because life happens, and we're going to be covering all of this later, or miss the mark. Look, sometimes we're just going to miss the mark on certain things, and that's completely fine. But it's good to keep track of them. Then you have a time frame for each of them. I hope you noticed that I've mentioned time frame, not deadline, which they're two separate things for us. Align to, and here is completely optional. If you want, I would suggest to go through a full retro before and look at the areas of your life where you want to focus more or improve or prioritize. And those are the categories that I normally have. But you can completely adjust this and personalize or just not use it if that's not for you. You have a section called dependencies. So for every single objective, what are the dependency? Because we're always going to have some. And then you have the key results. For each key result, you have a progress here where you are going to measure it in percentage and a deadline. The maximum of key results that we covered in the template are 5. I wouldn't recommend more than 3, 5, maybe, but 3 to 5 the maximum, definitely the maximum. Each of them, like I mentioned, you're going to have the progress and the deadline. And there's another column called outcomes. And this outcome is for the whole objective. Let's say you're going to complete your objective tomorrow. What exactly is the outcome? What does success look like for this objective? What would you like to see? And below, you are actually going to have a little check-in. So I would recommend every week or every other 2 weeks, but don't let 1 month pass without you doing a check-in on your goals. And that just looks like mentioning every objective, checking in and saying, are you happy with the progress? Yes or no? The date of the check-in. If any other dependencies or blockers that came up this week or in the last 2 weeks. And then for each of the OKRs, what were the steps that you took specifically for each of them towards completing them? And look, I know that it sounds a little bit too much, but trust me when I say this, once you do it a couple of times, you are actually going to get a little kick off of it because you're going to see your progress. You're actually going to see the progress on the things that are important to you and that matter. So let's take an example. Let's say for objective 1, so I would say something like strengthen the body. And for this objective, I would add a time frame of, so 3 months, let's say it's too short. Let's do a realistic one, right? Ambitious, but realistic. So let's say maybe end of July. By end of July, this is aligned with my body. Okay, for until the end of July, I would really like to strengthen my body and making sure that I am in the healthiest possible place. So do I have any dependencies? Well, yes, it's work schedule. Okay, we're going to have to make it work, but worth mentioning it. What would be the first key result for this? Well, I would say for me personally is build body strength by going to the gym 2 times a week. And so far, I have done 0 progress. And this would definitely match my end of the objective time frame. Okay, the second one, we want to strengthen the body, but we also need to be very aware of our eating habits because that's also going hand in hand, right? So I would say eat healthy meals on average 4 days a week. And so far, we have a 0% there. I will add a very similar deadline for this one. And maybe we also want to, to strengthen the body, but we also want to make sure that we work on our mobility and our stretching and everything like that. So let's say attend a yoga class a week. And then I want to make sure that I am attending yoga classes every week with the same deadline. Okay, we're going to keep it at 3 key results for this objective. Now, the outcome that I would like to see for this would be something along the lines of have a healthy, strong body with a habit created. And that's kind of like what I want at the end. I want a healthy, really strong body with a habit that's being created. But let's say today is 1st of April and this this objective has the time frame of end of July. Let's say 1 month in, I actually get a knee injury for whatever reasons. Maybe I was hiking, maybe I was skiing, something happened, I got a knee injury. So all of a sudden, my dependency is not just the work schedule, but it's also knee injury. And the knee injury kind of forces me to adjust my goals. So that means I'm still gonna try and build strength in my body and go to the gym, just it's gonna look a little bit different. And maybe instead of attending a yoga class, that's not really applicable anymore. And that's completely fine. I'm still working towards my objective of strengthening the body, but this time it's gonna look a little bit different. So instead of attending a yoga class, because let's say with the knee injury right now, there's no more bending or flexibility happening, but I do have physiotherapy. So this goal, as I'm checking in, remember that this is a very important part of our template and we're going to cover it in a bit more detail later. You're going to want to adjust, pivot, and change. So instead of attending a yoga class, it's going to be attend 3 times a week physiotherapy sessions. And that's still working towards my objective. My objective had the outcome of having a healthy, strong body with the habit that's being created. So the habit of going to the gym, it's still going to be created, still going to be there. My body is still going to be strong and healthy by the end of this because I'm actually going to have physiotherapy incorporated in it. And if you've ever done physiotherapy, especially for knees and joints, you know that going to the gym in strength training is actually a key part. It's going to look a little bit different. You're not going to do the exact same exercises that you've done at the beginning. So you're still working towards the same objective. Now, let's say maybe by the end of July, this is at 100% when I do the check-in. Physio sessions are, let's say, 100%. But maybe I didn't really eat healthy 4 days a week. Let's say maybe I ate 3 days a week on average, or, 3.5, 2. Sometimes things happen. That's why I said on average, because you're going to have weeks when you're going to have maybe 1 to 2 meals, and you're going to have weeks when maybe you're going to have 5 meals. So let's say you got to like a 50% progress. That doesn't mean that your objective was completely failed. That doesn't mean that at all. It just means that life happened, and that's completely fine. The parts that really matter to get to have a strong body were there. Just the eating habits maybe weren't the best. And that's absolutely and completely fine, because in progress was more than 50% of the time. So it wasn't a missed mark. A missed mark means everything drops under 50%. This actually means that it's pretty much done. And I want to encourage everyone out there that is looking at setting goals with the OKR framework to keep in mind every time you check in, pivot. Life happens. Set your objective in a way that it's going to improve your life and in a way where you want to achieve something. And that something needs to be aspirational, motivational, but still something that's going to move the needle at the end of your time frame. So don't just be super rigid. Don't just say do 5 things. Write 5 blog posts. Release 5 features. Make sure that when you do mention those type of key results, because in the key results, they should be measurable. So you should have release 5 features, but they should always, always be connected to an objective that's bigger than them. So let's take another example. Let's say that maybe you want to change jobs, right? So let's say objective number 2, it's going to be something like change jobs with the aim of at least 20% salary increase and a bigger remit. And for this objective, for me to actually change jobs and, get it in a place where I'm happy with, as you can see, my objective includes also change jobs, but like with what? My objective is not to just change jobs, but to change jobs with a purpose. So let's say for this one, I would like, let's say it's beginning of April, I would put this one somewhere a quarter, end of June. So this would be aligned with, this can be aligned actually with money or growth, whatever you feel like it's going to align more to you. I'll put it towards growth because we also want a bigger remit. Any dependencies that we want to mention here, maybe one of the dependency can be something like the job market and microeconomics are not that great right now, right? And that's fine. That's completely fine. We should mention the things that might be challenging or dependent on. And the first key result, well, the very first, what's the first step that you have to do in order to change your job? Well, you kind of need to either create or update your CV. That's the very first step. And right now it's going to be at 0%. You need to add your deadline. This really keeps me on track. I don't know about anyone else, but having deadlines next to key results really keeps me on track, because at the end of each week or at the beginning of each week, so it's either Sunday night or Monday morning, I look at my to-do and I look at my goals, and that's what takes priority on my to-do for the week. It's a really good indicator of seeing where you are right now versus where you want to be. So the deadline for it, let's say I'm going to put it as maybe like a week from 1st of April, right? A week, more than enough. You're going to get enough time to actually work on it. Then another key result to get me closer to changing my jobs might be something like connect with recruiters and attending networking events. Something that I know will help me get that one step closer and get the type of jobs and roles that I would like that are catered for me. Right now, maybe I'm like at 10% of doing that. Maybe I'm actively connecting to recruiters, but I'm not doing a lot more than that. It's just very casual. It's not intentional. And I'm kind of more of a passive connector rather than an active one. So I would say maybe I'm doing 10% of it. Now, let's add a really nice deadline. Well, if the aim is by the end of June to have a job, I would really keep it up until mid-June. So I would say like maybe the 14th of June to make sure that I keep going and I have as many options as possible. So let's go for key result 3. What else can I do to get closer to the job that I want? Well, maybe I can shortlist the companies that I would like to work for and subscribe to their job alerts, get in touch with the hiring managers. And that's actually a lot of work to do. It's going to take a lot of time. So maybe I didn't really do any sort of progress on that whatsoever, but that's something very important because I want to be very specific in the type of company and the type of role that I want to choose. Let's say my deadline, it's going to be, because I really want to be active on this, let's say 1st of May. I'm going to give myself 1 full month to get there. Another key result might be to actively reach out to HR or people team for the companies and the roles that I would like to work for. So in this case, I'm not just shortly listing the companies that I would like to work for, but I'm actively reaching out and sharing my CV, getting in touch, putting basically my name in front of them. And this, maybe it's a 0% progress. And for this one, what I might do is just go in parallel while I'm shortlisting and directly messaging people too. Parallel work people. Then let's say I'm actually in front of people. I have the attention of the people at the company that I really want to work for. I want to make sure I'm ready, right? So another key result might be something like prep for interviews. And I don't want to just disregard this because I think a lot of people are just making their CVs, applying and hoping for the best. Prepping for interview is actually a very important step when you want to target some very specific companies and jobs. So this, you can start taking action immediately on it. You can have a deadline of a week. You can have a deadline of 2 weeks. It can be anything, but I would suggest the sooner the better. So maybe we're going to put this one somewhere around the 17th of April. And as an outcome, I want to join a company that gives me a bigger remit, and a salary increase of minimum 20%. So that's your outcome. Basically, if you're meeting all the key results that you currently have, so creating and updating your CV, very important, first step. Then constantly connecting with all the recruiters and attending all the networking events. There's impossible that you're not going to find the role that you want. Shortlisting and doing the research for the companies that you want, subscribing to them, getting in touch with the hiring managers, that's always going to help. Actively reaching out, even if the role is not open, or maybe you've seen a past role that you would have liked, but now that position is closed, is still worth getting in touch with people and sending your CV across, putting your name in front of them. Prepping for interviews, always, always, always do that. That's my number one thing. Every time I start to look for something else, that's what I would do. Number one, update the CV. Number two, start prepping for the interview. Everything else would follow. And if you do all those steps, trust me, you are going to join a company that you're going to be happy with, that has a bigger remit, and you're going to have a salary increase of minimum 20%. So all of those steps will lead you to your objective. Now, I know these ones can be a little bit maybe tedious because especially you have to think about your objective and then break them down in each and every single individual key result with a deadline. But think about it like this. Think about, let's say you want to climb Mount Everest, right? That would be the objective. The key results would be all the preparation, all the things that you have to do before that, all the gear that you have to buy, all the preparation that you have to do forehand to train, different types of training, making sure that maybe you climb a different mountain, a little bit smaller before that, just to see how you're dealing with altitude sickness. All those key results will help you achieve a really great experience at the end of the day when you're going to try to go up the mountain. And all of those together will make your goal achievable and actually, motivational, actually be excited about it. And this is where the check-in process kind of comes in too. Because every week or every 2 weeks, if maybe you don't want to do it every week, but I would strongly suggest to do that, you should have your check-ins. Your check-in with each objective, how happy you are in the progress, how everything goes, any new dependencies that maybe popped up this week, and steps that you took towards your key result since the last time that you did a check-in. And as you go through, you're going to see at the end of the year a really long list here of a lot of things that you've done. And trust me when I say this, the amount of endorphins that just like rushes through your body when you look back and you see how many things you actually done for yourself as a priority, man, there's no better way of building up confidence and building up your future as well at the end of the day. And I wouldn't say do 5 key results to start with. Maybe do 1 or 2. Maybe even do 1. Take one of the current goals that you have right now and split it in an OKR format. Start with what would you like the objective to be? And then what are the little steps that you can do in order to achieve them? What are the key results that you can do in order to start getting closer to that objective? And just keep track of that. Don't even bother with the rest of them. Just try one at a time. Give it 3 months, maybe 5 to 6 if it's a little bit more time dependent or lengthy. And while you do the check-ins, don't forget to adjust. Life happens, injuries happen, emergencies happen. That's completely fine. That's why OKRs really, really work, especially for personal life, because the objective, it's still going to be there. The key results, those need to pivot. But at the end of the day, you're still going to move towards your objective. You're still going to make progress towards it. Start small, but start. Setting OKRs, step 1. Keeping them alive, it's step 2. And this is where most people kind of drop the ball most of the time because, life happens. The template I mentioned has a built-in check-in section, like you've seen, and this is the difference that makes the framework work. Here's how it functions. For each of the objectives, did you have any dependencies coming up this week? And then for each key result, what specific steps did you take since the last check-in? The cadence matters. Weekly check-ins are ideal if you're in an active pursuit of the goal, but bi-weekly works as well. But anything less than a monthly one, it kind of, this is where you kind of lose the thread. The whole point is that you're having a regular conversation with yourself or with someone else, should you wish to have an accountability group, about what's actually happening versus what you planned at the beginning. This is the mechanism that all the New Year's resolutions completely lack. You set the goal in January, and the next time you think about it is December, when you kind of feel bad about missing the mark yet again. And here's the practical tip: keep your check ins notes. Over time, they become a record of what actually worked, what kept blocking you, and what patterns keep showing up in your behaviors. We all have those. That's the kind of self awareness that no goal setting acronym can give you. Okay, there's one more thing that every piece of goal setting research keeps pointing to, and it's the thing that most people resist to: accountability. A 2023 study published in PLOS One, looking at a large scale experiment on New Year's resolution, found that people who had accountability support were more likely to sustain their goals. This isn't surprising, really. What's surprising is how few goal system settings actually build accountability in. Smart goals aren't inherently solo. You set them alone, you pursue them alone, you fail at them alone. OKRs were designed to be transparent. At Google and Intel, for example, everyone's OKRs are visible to everyone else in the company, from the CEO to the newest hire. The transparency is what creates alignment and clarity and accountability. Now, you might not work at Google. You might be building something on your own or managing a small team or just trying to get your personal life in order. So, how do you create accountability without a company wide OKR system, you might ask? This is where community comes in. And this is something that we want to build together. Here's what I would really love to do. If you're listening to this and you've set the goals that are a bit staling, or you want to rebuild them using the OKR framework, send them to us. Use the link in the description or reach out to us on thecasualleader.com or at contact@thecasualleader.com. Share your OKRs with us, and we can help you with some check in reminders, actual check ins, and real accountability. If you want to start setting your OKRs and you're not sure where to start, get in touch. We're happy to jump on a 30-minute workshop call to get you started. And everything's completely free, by the way. Here's what I've learned personally: the goal itself is maybe 30 to 40% of the equation. The framework, let's say it's another 30. The remaining 40, 30 to 40, that's kind of the check ins, that muscle that you need to be building. And the people around you who ask, how's it going? And actually expect an answer. We're building a community where that question gets asked regularly, not in a performative, post your progress for likes type of way, but in a real, I said I was going to do this and I want someone to notice if I don't or call me out type of way. The empty, supportive, useless feedback is something that we're just not going to do here. So join us if you want to have a community that's supporting you with your goals. All right, let's look at a few key takeaways because we covered quite a bit. The end of Q1 is the most important time to review your goals, not December. If you can't find your goals, they were never really a priority or operational. Pull them up, look at what actually happened. No guilt, just data gathering. Smart goals create binary pass or fail thinking, discourages ambitions, and don't really separate activity from the outcome. They assume a stable environment, not a real life and lack of building accountability. They were designed for corporate management in 1981, not for the real dynamic life that we live now. OKRs pair an inspiring objective with 2 to 5 measurable key results. Success isn't binary. It's a 60 to 70% hit rate on key results that is healthy. If you're hitting 100% of your goals, they aren't really ambitious enough. Track your regular check ins. Weekly is ideal. Ask yourself what steps you took towards each of the key results, what dependencies have popped in, and whether you're happy with the progress or not. Keep the notes. The pattern will teach you more than the goals themselves. Adjust without guilt. Update statuses Pivot key results and use not for me anymore status for when an objective no longer serves you. Closing a goal with clarity is not the same as just failing at it. Accountability is a multiplier. You don't have to do this alone. Share your OKRs with someone who will actually check in on you. Better yet, join our community and let us help you stay on track. So, here's your challenge for this week. Take 20 minutes, maybe 20 to 30, and write your top 3 goals that you maybe had at the beginning of the year as OKRs. One objective, 2 to 3 key results each, not more. Use the template that we have mentioned in the description, then share them with us. Tell us what you're working at, and we'll check in regularly with you and at the end of Q2 as well. Because here's the truth, you don't need a new year to set better goals. You just need a better framework, a better way of working with it. And Q2 starts in a few days. All right, that's a wrap. If you loved or hated this episode, let us know in the comments below. We're here for both, as always. Let's get the conversation started. And don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on any of the upcoming episodes. We have tons of interesting subjects coming up. And like I mentioned, join our community on thecasualleader.com. Until next time, keep being you authentically, lead clearly, build smarter, and remember, everything starts with you. Start casual, keep going, keep growing. See you next week. Bye.